Hey everyone, welcome back to Black Travel and Culture. I am your girl Kim, aka Kim with the Gems. And tonight we're coming to you with a conversation that I think is important, especially as it relates to Black people traveling abroad and racism. And this is in line with a trip that I recently took to Italy. And before the trip, after the trip, I get so many questions about, is Italy really racist and how racist is Italy? And so I'm just going to go over and hopefully you can make your own decisions about what you think. And this video is not going to take away from anyone else's experience, but just to put it in context, because when you see so many videos and when about that are titled racism in Italy racist, if you don't watch the video and listen to what people's experiences were, you may walk away confused. You may walk away thinking one thing when it's really something else. So let me go ahead and first introduce myself. Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Kim, aka Kim with the Gems. I am the founder and creator of Black Travel and Culture. We are a community of nearly 300,000 members strong across all platforms that are looking for information that we may not have learned in other spaces and places that can help us move across the world, be better global citizens, be better with our finances, and also take better care of our bodies. And so each and every video that we share will fall in line in one of those three pillars. So wellness, travel, and finances. And so tonight, like I said, it's about my travel experience to Italy a couple months ago. And I have some notes as I normally do. So I'm going to just, look down every so often to make sure I cover everything. But before I go into that, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, it's popping tonight, boy. It's really, if you hear noises, it's a beautiful night here in Playa del Carmen, and people are in and out. So anyway, and I have my sliding glass door open, so you may hear some street noise. But anyway, if you like this video, go ahead and put a heart. Have any questions, put it in the comments section, and I'll try to answer each and every one of them. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any other lives. Last night, I had a great conversation about toxic situations when you are an expat and moving abroad. So you could check that video out. Coming up, I'm going to share how the community, the Black travel and culture community, has grown exponentially in a few short months over on TikTok, and give you some advice that I hope will help you if you choose to start a TikTok page, and it will hopefully save you lots of trial and error. And so let's just get started. Like I said, I received quite a few inquiries before going to Italy, after coming back from Italy, and people telling me that Italy, is racist. And these are people who have never been to Italy. So I wanted to go through my experiences. Now, do I think that Italy is racist, or do I think that there's racism in Italy? Absolutely, 110%. Just like I think that there's racism in almost every other part of the world, in every other country. Does racism exist in those countries? Absolutely. Well, we know it exists in the United States, right? We know it exists in many countries in Europe. It exists in Africa. So Yes, I do believe that there's racism that exists in Italy. Did I personally experience racism in Italy? Absolutely, 100%. And I'm going to get into those personal stories in a second. Um, I visited, just to give you some insight, I went to Milan in October of 2023, and I was in Milan for a week. And so within that time, there were two instances that I can attribute to racist behavior, but there's a twist. There is a twist, and I'm going to get into that. So basically, I guess for full transparency, this was not my first time in Italy. I've been to Italy before. I visited Rome. I visited um, Florence. I stayed in a villa in the Tuscan region. I've also visited the Amalfi Coast as well as the island of Capri. And so I have had experience visiting Italy as a Black, unapologetically Black woman. You can't deny that I'm Black of African descent. And I can honestly say that those trips were spectacular. And I did not experience any type of um, racism. The only unpleasant experience was a sightseeing day when we were at the Spanish Steps, and just rude people, rude behavior from tourists. And so, with that being said, I wasn't really concerned about revisiting Italy. Milan had always been a destination that I wanted to attend to visit for so many reasons. It just never made it to the top of the list, but I had put a goal that between 2023 and 2024, I was going to visit Milan. Why Milan? A known cosmopolitan city. I'm from New York. I love a cosmopolitan city. I love fashion, food, architecture, just, people watching, shopping, like for good quality items. And so I love art. So Milan was always a destination that I knew I wanted to visit. I honestly didn't know when. And this trip just really happened sporadically. Everything fell into place. I was able to catch a really good airline, a round trip fare on Delta for $500. Actually, it was like $499.75. It was a time that 50 Cent was doing the final lap tour. I'm a huge, I love hip hop. I'm from New York, and it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And I had always also wanted to experience a hip hop concert in Europe or abroad, I should say, because I hear the energy is just different. And so I had wanted to experience that. Also, I knew two people who were going to be in Italy. We were going to cross paths. They were doing a trek in Milan, excuse me. They were doing different cities in Italy, and they were going to be in Milan. I think it was like a day and a half that I was going to be in Milan. So anyway, it just worked out. So ended up booking the trip because it literally kind of fell in my lap. And the last time I was there was with one of my college friends. We had a ball. At the time there was a website called Luxury for Less, and you were able to book like these high-end hotels for a fraction of the cost. So we stayed at places that like Jay-Z and Beyonce stayed at. And we were able to literally pay normal rates because I guess of the time that we went and they had availability. Just a super spectacular trip. The villa that we stayed in, it was a villa that Emeril Lagasse and oh my gosh, what's the other guy? He was a big guy who was like, he had a cooking show. Anyway, he ended up getting fired. There was some type of essay allegations. He was on with Carla Hall, but I can't think of his name, but he's a well-known chef. This was someplace he frequented. And so we had a great time. And so right before the trip, I literally started doing research after I booked the trip. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to share something that I came across. And let me just, hopefully there will be no issues. Let's see. Share screen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have to just pull it up again. But there was an article that came out that made me kind of pause. And it was regarding designers that had pulled out of Milan Fashion Week due to racism. And this had happened in February of 2023. And I didn't, I hadn't heard the story, but when I started doing my research about, where to go, what to do, this article came up. And I'm going to pull the article up now. It should be in my history. Hold on a second. History. Here it is. Okay. So, oh no, that's a different one. That's another racist story. But that was about the United States. Okay, so here it is. So the woman's name, and let me just go ahead and share this. Stella Jean or Stella Jean. And so we're going to just go look at this article really quickly. Gotta share screen again. Here she is. Share. Let me hold. Let's see. Add to stage. Okay, so here it is. Stella Jean, I'm going to say, drops out of Milan Fashion Week due to abandoned inclusivity efforts. She also announced a hunger strike following the Italian Fashion Chamber's action. And so this had taken place in February. Again, had no idea. And was like, wow, let's see what happened. And do I need to cancel this trip? And so basically, the article says Stella Jean, the Italian Haitian designer who has advocated for diversity and inclusion within Italy's fashion industry, announced she's dropping out of Milan Fashion Week after hitting a breaking point with the Camera Nazionale della Moda Italiana. Anyway, CNMI for an acronym, which is the governing body of Italy's fashion industry, which she alleges abandoned a project to support young biopic creatives. And so there's more. Let's go ahead. It's not that long of a story, so let's continue. So it says the chamber told us we didn't know there were Italian designers who weren't white. We brought them to the runway. They supported us for 2 years. Then we were abandoned, Jean said during a press conference held by the CNMI, as reported by the AP. She also revealed that 5 other members of the We Are Made in Italy collective, a collective of designers of color founded by Michelle Ngumo in 2020, that aims to draw attention to the lack of diversity in the industry and bolster inclusion, would also withdraw from Milan Fashion Week, which began it was to begin February 21st of 2023. And then there's more to the story, but it's all about the same things we face in the US, inequity, and they put these programs in place only to snatch them away. And then, after they feel they met whatever quotas, and it left me feeling a way. I'm like, okay, there's something maybe percolating in the atmosphere. Do I go and support? Do I not go? And just not know, and, be left to assume, or what? And I'm a world traveler. it's what fuels me, right? And I encourage my community to be world travelers and figure things out for themselves. Of course, do the research, of course, ask the questions, but have your own experiences, because there's no way to tell, what your experience is going to be in advance. So I decided to pack my bags and fly across to Europe and, check it out for myself. And so hopefully in my head, I'm thinking, it's not going to be as bad as I think it can get. And I was there to fulfill some, fantasies and some cultural experiences that I have been longing to experience. And I also have a video on some of those experiences. I'll link that in the description. You could check out some sites from Milan, Italy. But I always wanted to go to the opera in Milan, Italy. I always wanted to attend an official opera in Milan. I was able to check that off the box. I also wanted to visit Lake Como. Lake Como have been a destination that I have been wanting to visit. Lake Como and Bellagio, beautiful lakeside cities, lots of hills, gorgeous views from everywhere. And I was like, I have to go. And then where else? I thought I was going to be able to make it to Switzerland. There was a train strike, so I couldn't do that. But that was fine because Milan was really my ultimate destination. And the food, like I wanted to take an authentic Milanese cooking class. And I was able to do that. And I'm so glad that I did. But once again, I'm not saying that this trip was far from any racist experiences. And the first one happened the first day I arrived, right soon after arrival. And again, it has a twist to it. So give me a second. But I ended up landing, clearing customs. The easiest way to get from the airport to the center of Milan is by taking this train. And it's very simple. And if you're from a city like New York, it was really simple, easy to figure out. I think it was like $12 versus $100 and something if you took a taxi, which the fact that it was less complex to take the train versus taking a taxi, where you could have got stuck in traffic, yada, yada, yada. And I was arriving like morning rush hour. So I took the train and I sit down next to, there's a like a storage area for your luggage. So I get on, like one of the first people to get on near where the storage area is, and I put my luggage there. And then someone else put their luggage. And then there was a top shelf that you would have to lift and put your luggage on. So I go and I sit down, and I'm sitting next to the luggage racks. And these two women get on and basically give me this look like, I want your section. I want where you have your bag, because I don't want to lift my bag up. And they're like staring me. I won't say staring me down. It wasn't super aggressive, but looking at me like, and I'm like looking at them like, and of course, who was going to win that? They thought there was no way in hell I was moving my bag for them to put their bag, in the easier space to, grab and go when it was time to grab and go. So they ended up having to lift their bags, put it in the top storage section, but then they come and they sit. So there's 4 seats here and then 4 seats here. I'm on the outside. They sit on the 2 outside seats facing each other. And when I tell you, the looks was like, what are you doing here? Like, how did you get here? Now, let me just share what the twist is. They were not Italian. They were not Italian at all. These were Caucasian women from Utah who literally was so confused as to how this melanated girl was traveling like a, not looking like I didn't belong, traveling as if I belonged. And how dare you? Because they were traveling too. And, so one of them, the less, I would say, aggressive one, wants to spark conversation. But I knew the reason why. She wanted to spark conversation because she wanted to be nosy. And so, I went with the flow because I'm happy. I'm happy to be in Milan, and I'm not going to let anyone, especially two Americans, steal my joy. So they're, of course, trying to pry and understand how, I was like, who are you here with? What are you planning? Like, just stupid. They were taking a cruise. They flew into Milan, but they were taking the train ultimately to Rome, I want to say, and then they were getting on a cruise somewhere, and it was like a 7-day Mediterranean cruise. But trust and believe, I laid it on thick. I spoke of all the places, not all, but quite a few of the places that I have visited. And when I tell you, their mouths were flabbergasted, and what ended up being like a very awkward beginning, or not so nice beginning, rooted in what I could very easily tell was racism. It could have been, the weird thing is they look like they shouldn't have been doing what they were doing. And anyway, so that was the first experience of racism. But like I said, let's just underscore that there was no, they were not Italian. And so it was not a cultural thing it wasn't a cultural thing between me being a Black American and someone else being Italian. It was two Americans from an area where they don't often see Black people, confused as to who, what, when, why, how are you here anyway? Because there were other Black people, most of them were African migrants, you can kind of tell, that were on the train, but I was the only one with the suitcase looking like, I was coming to stay for a minute. And so that was the first time. So yes, there's absolutely racism. But to counter that, I check into the hotel. When I tell you, this Italian guy let me check into my room at like 9:30 in the morning. And not only was he so kind and so generous, because I actually got there before 9. So I checked in. He was like, go have some breakfast. Now, I literally wasn't supposed to have breakfast because my breakfast really wasn't starting until the next day. But he was like, go have some breakfast, have a cappuccino, and we'll get your room ready. We'll get your room ready. And I'm like, okay. But I'm still not thinking, 9:30, quarter to 10 in the morning, I would be in my room. Because, in the US, that's a fantasy. And it may happen once in a while. But anyway, he was able to, speak to housekeeping, whatever. And I was able to check in my room at 9:30. And not only was he nice, the woman who made the, because they ask you what coffee you want. So you could get a espresso, a cappuccino, Americano, there's different coffees you can get, and they make it, in front of you. She was so nice and came back, was like, do you want another one? Like, just very hospitable. Now, I know this was a hotel, but again, there was no issues of any type of, like, you don't belong here, what's going on? So then, I was tired. So I told you I arrived that morning. So I went to sleep. And then that night, I was hungry, so I went out to eat. Went to this authentic Italian restaurant. And when I don't know, they were treating me like they thought I was somebody, but I know they didn't think I was somebody. I think they just literally have really good service when you act like you belong someplace and you're not coming across as you don't belong, or you can't afford, or you're looking at them funny. Because the stories that I've heard on Instagram, the stories that I've heard on TikTok, the stories I've heard on YouTube have been people who literally expect to walk into a country or a city that is just as diverse as the country or city that they came from. There are parts of Italy where you may not see Black people for days or for months or for years. And some of these people move to Milan and are working there. So you have to understand that it may not be racism, it may be curiosity. We could be a little hypersensitive to saying, identifying everything as racist. And it could be curiosity, or it could just be people with bad attitudes and they will treat a Black person the same way they treat an Asian person. There's actually a video that I came across. There's an Asian lady, a young girl, who did a video. It's on YouTube. It's like a minute and change. And she was talking about her racist experience in Milan. So there are people who are just unfortunately racist, but it's not specific to one race. And a lot of times, like even when I was in Thailand, everybody from Thailand was amazing. It was the people from other countries that had issues, right? Just like I mentioned, the two women from Utah who, were obviously not the most inclusive group of women, or two women that I've come across. And so then the second, let's talk about, the second. So checked into the hotel, went out to eat, had an amazing experience. Then after I got back to the hotel, there were other there were groups of people. The name of the hotel is 21 House of Stories. If you ever go to Milan, stay at 21 House of Stories, period, exclamation point, that's it. I stayed at 3 different hotels because I was supposed to leave to go to Switzerland. I think I mentioned that, and Venice. And because of the weather, I had to cancel. So I ended up staying at 3 different hotels, 2 different locations. 21 House of Stories has 2 locations. And then I think it's the NYX Hotel. And I've had nothing but great experiences at all 3 of them. My cooking class, the cooking instructor, you would have thought I was his long lost cousin Kim, like the way he kept including me and talking to me. And it was 3 of us. We were 3 Black people in the cooking class, and he did not make any of us feel excluded. He was just amazing. And so again, I know these are service people, but these are the people that I hear a lot of people saying were racist. And what I've also noticed from the videos is that people say, they were Afro-Latina working. And I'm like, well, if they're Afro-Latina and you're getting racist treatment from them in Milan, it's not Italians that are racist. It's the Afro-Latinas or Dominicans that you met in Milan that treated you with some form of racism. And so you're giving mixed messages, and that's how I started the video. So I'm going to talk about the second time. There were 2 times, right? I mentioned that I experienced racism. Now, this one could have been racism with a class of sexism. I don't know, but I ended up going to the 50 Cent concert, and when I arrived back near my hotel, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get something to eat. Because, I had eaten earlier, like super early, like 5, and now it's about 11, 12, something like that. So there was this place not too far from my hotel, like a 3-minute walk. And I'm going to pull it up, actually. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to pull it up so you can see. It was a quick, easy, it was a quick something. I didn't want anything I didn't want a huge meal. So I'm going to show you this place because this is where it got interesting again for me. And here we go. It's called Trapi. Here we go. Why does this thing keep closing? Okay. Jeez. Okay, so this is it. It's called Trapezzino Milano, and it's in an area called Nivigli. And Nivigli is it's a poppin' area. Think of like, I won't say the Village, but like a more artsy, like Hudson. Well, anyway, that's New York speak, but it's a very new, up and coming, eclectic, vibrant part of Milan. And so I went, and everybody had been extremely nice in this area too. I, had gelato there. I had dinner there. Like everyone was just nice, except at this place. So I go in. There's 2 people ahead of me. I order, by the time I finally made it in, I ordered. And so this, let me see, are there any photos of what the food really looks like? So it's really like, it looks like a hot pocket kind of sort of, but it's authentic Italian um, fillings. And so let's see if this about things now. Let's see. As you can see, it has, out of 243 reviews on Google, for whatever that's worth. Let's see what the bad reviews are. I always like to check that out. I'm not going to say it was the food, because my food was good. You don't have the convenience of eating, not as expected. €5 for the price of bread heated in the microwave with meatball. Okay, so they have problems with their food. I was trying to see if there was anything with service. So slow, rude, and unprofessional staff. So maybe, I don't know if this person is Black or not. No, it doesn't sound like it. Not going to make assumptions, but it doesn't sound like that. But for me, the food was good. As you saw, it's 4.5. It was like a stromboli, but with the really good Italian bread, and you had options of what type of filling you wanted, from just cheese to meats and all of that other stuff. Service very slow. So my experience was this. It was definitely an older man who was pretty much my complexion. I don't know if he was Italian or if he was from the Middle East, or if he was Indian. I don't know what he was, but he was an older gentleman. Now, I put my order in with this young woman, but the older gentleman is the one who does the, filling and the heating and all of that. So behind me there came a group of like 4 or 5 guys. It might have been 5. One, I think, stood outside, and they placed their order after me. When I tell you that man served each and every one of those boys before I got my food, and the girl had to say, like, excuse you, like, she didn't, you could tell she was a younger girl and she wasn't about it, but she definitely was like, excuse me, like, and he gave this look like, she can wait. Now, I had already paid my money. So, and I was hungry, so I did have to wait. But you can tell, like, his energy was more towards racism, may have been sexism. I can't really say sexism because the two in front of me, one was a woman, one was a guy. So I don't know. But I do know it was an ism, and that was the second experience. And again, I don't know that this man was Italian. He didn't look it to me, but just because the place is an Italian place, I'm like, okay, maybe he's from Sicily or northern Italy, southern Italy, where, their skin tone is a lot darker. So yeah, so I was like, okay, there could have been some racism there. But again, those were my only 2 racist experiences. Or seemingly, well, the women definitely were, but seemingly racist experiences while I was in Milan. Everything else, there was a taxi cab driver that took my bag out. Now, to get to the NYX hotel, there's steps. There's no, ramp. So he pulls over. He takes my stuff up. No, he puts it out. And then, did I have to pay him in euro? No, I paid him with a card. And so he then grabs my bag, runs up the steps, and puts the bag at the top of the steps. I then proceed to try to give him a tip. No. And he's just like, no. And I'm like, yeah, anyway, he didn't have to do that. I had a bill picked up for me when I was out to eat at, it's a market. So it's like a market where, actually my cooking class was there, but it's like you have all different types of cuisine. So from, pastries to pizzas to seafood, et cetera, et cetera. When I tell you, I'm sitting there eating my little seafood Del Mar, like, hodgepodge of different seafood, had my little glass of wine, my little glass of vino. And the next thing I knew, they were like, oh, your bill's been taken care of. And it was this Italian guy just chilling. And he just took care of my bill. Never once was like, hey, what's your name? What's your number? Where you staying? None of that. Just out of the, but he saw me actually talking to like the staff, I think. And he might have been listening. I don't know. But he just graciously covered the bill. So many gay bellissimo, gay men and women. And so again, there were so many great experiences. I'm going to do another, I have another video coming up about like the opera and the 50 Cent concert, Final Lap Tour, and some other places that I visited. So that's actually being edited now. There was a crash with one of the editing tools. So anyway, that would be coming soon. But that was my experience on racism. And oh yeah, I did want to give just a few suggestions on when to travel, how to travel, so you mitigate, lessen your chances of having bad experiences. And so I always say, manage your expectations, manage our expectations. Like when we go to other countries, and this happened to me in Greece, and I might have said this in another video. I mean, I was on the subway there and I was with a friend, and men were knocking, pushing you out the way, and they were just rude when they talked to you. And it was this man, another man from Greece, that was like, they're rude to their own parents. Like Greek men are just known to be rude. So don't take that any type of way. And so I think that happens a lot of times, like when we're used to things being progressive and one way in our country, we expect that same type of behavior in another country. And often that is just not the case. And so there may be times that you're in another country where you're thinking that people are rude because of racism, and it could just be their culture. That could just be how they talk to people. So manage your expectations, leave your preconceived notions behind, stay away from, oh, this is, how it's supposed to be, or this is what I read, or this is what I heard. Because like I said, and I'm going to, again, attach a video, I'm going to link a video to someone who said that visiting Italy is more racist than visiting the US South. And that was like the title of her or the video about racism in Italy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? The lies in my Candy Burr's voice. So yeah, leave your preconceived notions behind. Stop all this extreme talk. It is not, I didn't find Italy to be anywhere as close to what, if you know about the South and racism, you can't even compare the two. They're not even in the same, they're not oranges, and apples, they're not even fruits together. Like they're just so wildly different. It doesn't even make sense that was the comparison. It have to be clickbait, just have to be clickbait. And then also, like I said, stay places where you stack the odds in your favor, that there will be people who have more of an open mind, who are, maybe speak English or speak the language that you're, whatever your first language is, because that will help to mitigate any confusion or lessen any confusion. Don't go during high season, period, point blank. Don't go during the summertime, because you're going to run across some nasty racist people that's in the heat in the summertime, and they're hot and they're bothered, and they're going to take it out on whoever and whatever, but they may not be Italian. They may be from a whole nother country, and then the Italians get the blame. Now, I'm not saying that racism does not exist. And I said this at the beginning. In Italy, I believe it does 100%, but it exists in every part of the country, every part of the world. And so that's what we have to learn to get past. And are we going to just stay home and stay stagnant? And that's what this video talks about. Well, I don't need to go to Europe if I'm going to be treated. Well, you don't need to stay in the US either. Like, pick your poison. So for me, it's to experience other food, other cultures, to really understand human nature and to be a better global citizen. And that's, what I recommend for most people. Now, it's not fair. Everything ain't for everybody, and I get that, but don't let, one person's thought or recommendation stop you from doing something that you may want to do. And so, yeah, so again, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification. We have the video coming up about, how to start, get into the bag on TikTok and in a short amount of time. And it doesn't matter what your what you want to talk about. But if you're spending time on social media for free, you might as well find a way to capitalize on it. And so anyway, that's coming up on Friday, I believe. And then I have another conversation on Saturday, and I can't remember what it is, but I will post it. So check my community tab for that as well. Saturday is, shoot. And my notebook is over there. Anyway, I will post it in my community tab and make everyone aware. So thank you for tuning in. Again, if you're new to this channel, I say this on every video. If you're new to the channel, you can follow us on all social media platforms. I'll provide as many links in the description as possible. And if you're part of the OG, thank you for riding with us through our 9-month hiatus while we were building over on TikTok and Facebook. But we're back to stay. And so don't forget, we're going to try to do, at least one video every week. That's the goal. I have the time now, but the goal is to increase from 1 to 2 soon. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. And I'll get to them as soon as possible. But until then, and I'm in Playa del Carmen for people that don't know. And I've been spending enormous times at the beach and at the pool. And so excuse, all of this, but it is what it is until I get back and am able to manage all of this. And so, so that's it. I'll talk to everyone. Well, I'll talk to you in the next video. And until then, you have a great night. And share this video with someone that it may help. Go to Italy, period, exclamation point.